Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay, the number one source for competitive Legends of Runeterra news and information. If you're looking for the best decks to play right now, be sure to check us out on Twitter at Master Runeterra or in our Discord. And if you want to take the next step in leveling up your game, check out our Runeterra team on Patreon, where we do weekly learning calls and one-on-one coaching. Now strap in and grab yourself some Poro snacks, because we are about to start Mastering Runeterra.
Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay. We got a great show for you guys today. Sorry we've been away for a little while. Lots of things going on, worlds and no seasonals, which is not great. And we've just been busy and tired and
sad,
mostly. But we're back, and I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for a new season to be starting up. Lots of stuff going on. I almost said Wizards. Riot just dropped the rotation, like part 2, which is real interesting. We now know that rotation is happening in 2 months from now, February 1st, when the new cards are coming out in that set, which I guess is the February set. They're going to be rotating. They're going to be rotating a bunch of cards into Eternal. We're going to have 2 formats now, which is kind of wild. A lot of people are scared about it, which I think is actually justified. I know we are.
If I had no experience in card games, I would also be like, excuse me, you're doing what? Like,
and from what I've heard, Hearthstone did a really bad job with it, and apparently some other ones as well.
Yeah, Hearthstone didn't do super fantastic with rotation.
Yeah, so I could see it. They might botch it. It might not work out well. But coming from a Magic background, though, this has been a good thing and something that you want and need. Like, if you had all the Magic cards, that was just the format you had where you just played with all the Magic cards, it would be the weirdest, dumbest thing ever.
It'd be vintage.
Yeah. If you could just
You'd have the same archetype would have been dominant for like 15 years.
Yeah, because then you're. I mean, the argument is that we do have the ability to nerf things.
Yes,
and so that's where it's different, which is very legit, very real. But as you can see from some of these formats where everything gets pushed down, and like kind of Worlds was kind of like that. We'll talk about it in a second. And like you'll hear people say like all the decks are bad. It gets kind of boring also when nothing is like doing something cool and fun and busted. When you're like super mega combo, like 2-card combo hit you for 3 damage. It's like, that's not very, exciting. Or it just got him. Like, kill 2 things. Like you do want some, power, right? For some excitement, some oomph.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get power creep, because people want that new, shiny, exciting thing. But anyway, this lets you balance it out better, and also just we've been talking about needing more formats, more things to do. Anyway, we'll jump into that more in a second because I want to read through there. So there's a lot of information there. Some stuff I didn't totally understand. I want to get your thoughts on stuff. But let's talk about Worlds. So for anyone who doesn't know, we didn't make it.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. It was tough. It was really, really rough. We had a rough go of it in our testing. We've talked about this in our team call, but we haven't talked about it here. Ionia got destroyed, so Majin became basically useless. And I early on was like, you know what? I always want to try out all the decks. And I'm like, what if I make this work? Or what if I make this deck work? And then early on, I was like, no, just copy what Bay does. Just play those decks a bunch, and get the fuck in there. And then like, I don't know, with like 5 days out, I'm like, all right, babe, what are we playing? And he's like, I got nothing. And I was like, yeah, shit.
I was like, I don't know, bro. We might as well not even sign up.
Like actual. That was actually where we got. Everyone was kind of there though. I don't think anyone went in and was just like, I'm good. Actually, no, a bunch of people did, and they got smashed. I remember
they lost.
You can't beat me. I'm unbeatable. It was like 0-2.
There was just like, it was a weird thing. You were talking about it a bit where like every deck was bad, and that's totally how it felt. Because like every time I go into a seasonal or whatever, I can usually find a lineup where like my lineup's better than 95% of people's lineups. Like I'm out here, I'm gonna crush people. Like my decks are just better than yours. Suck it. Or whatever. Like there's something that's like strictly better, or I have a way to make my lineup that makes it like really hard to target, or like really good at punishing certain strategies or something. And like this world, it just wasn't there. Like it just
It
wasn't.
was a weird format. Like aggro ended up non-existing.
Literally not real. Like no one. Not exaggerating, like one aggro lineup
One person
in
played
like the
discard
64.
aggro.
Yeah, it was like one Annie Jin or something like that total. And
The
so
most played deck with like the highest win rate was like elusives, and it was like we all thought the deck was kind of just bad.
it was like good. It was a good deck. It's just like it was pretty. If you ran
Kept
into like a
winning.
rough matchup, you were just
Yeah.
gonna lose. And I think like the better player you played against, the worse elusives got. But the better player you were, elusives didn't get much better. Like
Yeah.
you were kind of playing at 100%. Like the second you could read your cards, you just like if you just understand like what your opponent can do and how you can stop that, then like that's it. You don't get any better at elusives. That's exaggerating. Obviously, that's being hyperbolic, but that's how it felt. Wasn't a lot of edge there. You're just kind of like hoping. Um, and so yeah, early on we had decided that Seraphine Victor was the best deck in the format.
Shadow Owls.
Seraphine Victor Shadow Isles was the best deck in the format. And that was because it like crushed half the format at the time. Remember, this is like the day of the patch.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't remember the timeline. And so Seraphine Victor Shadow Isles was just like dumpstering everything. And then even its bad matchups, like we just had a thing where we'd be like, and this should beat Seraphine Victor Shadow Isles, and then it just wouldn't. Like we had a thing where we every time someone would bring up Seraphine Shadow Isles, we would just say, you can never count it out. Like it does not matter what you bring to the table, you can never count this deck out.
Yeah, with the freaking created cards, you would just find these insane wins with just like absurd combinations of things that like, they stole your big cat and hit you for 30 and like all this like ridiculous
I
stuff.
won with possession in Worlds. Like yeah, it was just kind of a ridiculous deck. And so we knew pretty early that people were going to be like either likely targeting it or bringing it. And there was the obvious lineup to us was like Dark Donger, some other Seraphine deck, third deck. That was like where we start grounds. That was like level 0, I feel like. And then what we wanted to do was we started off with like triple Shadow Isles because we wanted to make sure that we were strong into aggro because people always bring aggro. And then like the farther along we got, the more we were just like, okay, aggro's not really like a big thing, and triple Shadow Isles just isn't good enough because you're losing to these like greedy mid-range decks. And then what happened was decks just got greedier and greedier and greedier and greedier. So like the decks you saw possibly like putting up numbers were things like Sivir Kaisa, concurrent timelines came out in a big way, Talia Ziggs. These are decks that are like not particularly good because they're very punishable, but nothing existed to punish them. Like you could not aggro these decks out because aggro was so bad. And if you brought an aggro lineup, they'd ban your good one, and then you were just screwed. You're just like, man. So we had like a mid-range greed off for Worlds, which is not where I like to be because I play the Ionia deck that beats the mid-range decks. But Ionia wasn't real, so there was no aggro and no Ionia, to keep these decks in check. And it was just a really weird format.
Yeah, because normally you have some pillars, right? Whatever they are, like Ionia good, or aggro like decent, or like a counter to things. Combo, control, whatever. You have these pillars of the format, or decks even of the format that are kind of pinning the format, and everything sort of wraps around it. But like we're saying, like a lot of things were missing, and then there was also like big question marks with like like the Seraphine decks. Where it's like, do you beat them? Do you not beat them? It's like
we're not really sure. Yeah,
sometimes
it depends
they create
on
stuff
what they hit. Yeah,
they go nuts. And then the other big one was Red Gwen. It was like, do they have harrowing? Do they not have harrowing? That was a big that was like what a lot of matchups would like come down to.
It's like a 70-30 unless they draw harrowing, then you lose. Then it just completely flips to a 30-70. It was just a weird format. Red Gwen was probably like the safest, most mid deck at the event.
And we hated it from the start.
I hated it. Yeah.
Always just hated it. And like we knew the
I
deck
just
was like good.
Yeah. Do you mind if I go off a bit about our
Do it.
how we came to decks and stuff? Because
Yeah.
it was mostly Kever and I's lineup that I'm going to talk about. That is kind of what people centered around Kever and I's like build, I guess, by the end. But Red Gwen, we didn't like. A lot of us didn't like because Red Gwen is like a 55% deck. It wins 55% of the time, and you're not getting any more than that. Like the best I could ever get Red Gwen, even after practicing a bunch with it, was like 60% over like a decent sample size of games, and that's just not good enough for me. So I just didn't want to play it. Now I knew it was going to be in a lot of lineups, but what I really wanted to take advantage of is, well, I really wanted to just be able to beat the other mid range decks. So I wanted to either like, I wanted to have game into Red Gwen. I wanted to destroy Dark Donger, um, and then I wanted to not lose to aggro decks. And what Kever and I landed on was Double Bar X. So Double Bar X is the Seraphine Shadow Isles list, and then it's another Targon Bar deck without Seraphine because you can't run around both. So the problem is that the Seraphine Shadow Isles deck was so good, and then the Targon Bar one was not. It lacked oomph. I could win again. It was about 55% of the time, 55-60% of the time. But sometimes the deck you would just not win. Like you'd be super far ahead, but then you would not win, and then you would just lose because you couldn't close the door on your opponent. It would give them the chance to pull some bullshit and kill you. And so what we did to fix it was we actually cut Victor from the Shadow Isles deck and moved him to the Targon deck because the Shadow Isles deck, one, we didn't expect to get to play very often because again, we thought it was like the best deck in the format. Two, it didn't need the help really. Like Victor did help, but Victor gave so much more power to the Targon deck than it did to the Shadow Isles deck. Like that, it just felt so much better to have Victor in the Targon one. And
Well,
so
it was a sacrifice to be able to play both decks.
it was a sacrifice. Yeah, it wasn't all positive. Absolutely not, right? But like I think it helped a lot for the Targon Big Cat deck. So once Kever and I had landed on that, we were pretty sold on Double Bar X. The question was just finding the X. Kever and What Am I were very big on Field Rush, and I hate Field Rush. I never win with that deck. I don't really understand why. Um, it just loses a lot when I play it, and so I don't know. And I also think it's like super easily countered, and I saw the rise at the end of things like Sivir Kaisa, the Cultist decks, and Talia Ziggs, decks that like I absolutely did not want to play against with Field Rush. So I landed on. I pulled up my like profile, my like Master Runeterra profile or whatever, and I looked at all my matches and I said, which deck am I winning the most with? And it was actually Vayne Kayn, which is what we were playing our lineups into Vayne Kayn because people were starting to play it. So we wanted to make sure that we beat it. But then as I played more and more and more of the villain, I just kept winning with it. And then I took it on ladder and I just kept winning with it and winning with it and winning with it. And then but there were some matchups that were really, really bad. And we found out that if you just pick blue Kayn and tumble them, people die, even in the bad matchups. And so I was like, damn, all right, I guess I'm doing this. So I ended up on Double Bar, Seraphine Shadow Isles, and then Targon Big Cat, and then Vayne Kayn. And that was the lineup.
Yeah, for me as well. And I didn't love it going in when we saw the
Me neither.
breakdown of the other
No.
decks.
I like
the meta.
panicked. Yeah.
It felt like we were just dead walking. Like things had we had to get really lucky. That's how it felt.
Really lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not what you want going into it. You want to be like, I have to get really unlucky to not win this fucker.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you feel different when you started playing? Because the second I started playing games, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, it felt good.
This lineup rocks. Yeah.
And that was mostly, I think, just because if your opponents ever make mistakes, you punish the crap out of them.
You just kill them.
Punish them so hard.
And like,
and because people weren't, putting in, I don't think a lot of reps against Big Cat, for instance. Or even Vayne Kayn, I think some people were definitely not on it or didn't know it until the end.
Yeah, I think they played against it a couple times or played with it a couple times, declared it as simple, and then moved on. Because like we kind of did that too. We're like Vayne Kayn plays itself, and I still think it kind of does. But then like the more we played it, the more we were like, okay, if you mulligan like very aggressively for the elusive unit, and your goal is just like to tumble this elusive unit 4 times, then you win the matchup. Like that kind of stuff started popping up a lot more for us, which I think gave us like a lot of percentage in a lot of matchups with Vayne Kane.
Yeah, for sure. And exactly. Once I started playing matches, like the 2 matches that I lost, like I either should have won or could have won. Like everything. Never was there a game that I played where I was kind of like, I don't know, I just died. That sort of just did. I know you had some on day 2. But like even then, I felt like there was like you had options. There was options to do stuff.
Yeah.
You were like,
it just like nothing would have worked out. It's just not my day.
it wasn't great. It wasn't great.
No. But for the most part, it was. And then I think the biggest part was like the decks that we were really worried about going into in these lineups are like not good. Like the matchup is bad, but the decks are either inconsistent.
Like Ziggs Talia or something.
Ziggs Talia, concurrent timelines. Like I think these decks just aren't very good. They're like very powerful when they do a thing, but I think like by and large they're just not very good decks.
Yeah. Let's dig into that a little bit for people that maybe don't get it. So like one of the things that makes a deck good is like consistency. For instance, like if your deck can like, I don't know, deal 20 to the Nexus on turn 1, but it only does it 1 in 20 games, that's not a good deck. Even if it's like, it's so powerful, I can kill them on turn 1. Like, but like you're gonna lose 19 other games trying to do that, right? So that's what we're talking about when we're like, sometimes Ziggs Talia is just like double Ziggs, double Talia, like overwhelmed, like just it's blow you out, craziness.
Yeah.
Or if things don't come together, like it just falls apart. Timeline's a little bit of the same sometimes, right? You don't draw your timelines, perhaps. Maybe you don't draw a Trundle to go with it. Like there's clunkiness and consistency issues. And that's just
one of the nice combo.
Yeah. Your opponent's just attacking you on an axis that your like deck is that your draw from your deck is just not ready to deal with. Like you just die. And so that's what we mean. Because when we talk about like a deck being good, like when you talk about like the best decks of all time, they're typically very powerful and very consistent, and they're just always hitting you in the face with a big hammer, which is what you want to be doing.
So my run started off good, started off 1-0, and after that match, I was like, hell yeah, because like again, I'm like we're telling the people that it's like we did not feel good going into the tournament, but I don't think you understand how badly we did not feel good. Like the night before the tournament, a couple days before we registered lineups, and like right after we registered lineups, I was like, I might as well not even play.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so bad. I was like, we can't win this. We can't win this. And then I showed up and I played my first match, and I was like, wait, our lineup's good. All the decks are bad. Like it's not like we failed to crack it. All the decks are bad. And I think our lineup was actually really good. And then what I didn't take into account was that a lot of us, like our team, put in fucking work. Like we put in reps. Reps and reps and reps and reps and reps and reps and reps. I played so much Runeterra. And so even if maybe my lineup wasn't like the best going into certain other lineups, like I felt pretty good because I had so much practice in different matchups and things like that. So that felt really good. Start off 1-0. Second match, we got to game 3, and I had actually like at one point in the third game was already thinking about the next match because or I started off 2-0 or something. I think I started off 2-0. So this is match 2-0 into match 3, I believe. And it was game 3, and I had already marked it as a win in my head. That's how far ahead I was. Yep. My opponent had to get ungodly lucky, and I had to get ungodly unlucky to lose. And then my opponent playing like the Daybreak Nightfall deck, the Leona one, but with Kindred. Unspeakable Horror. This is with like no cards in hand, right? No cards in hand. Unspeakable Horror, Nightfall activated, 0 cards in hand, generates the Invoke Nightfall unit, invokes, passes the turn, Living Legends me.
Oh, yes.
Living Legends me into Great Beyond, right? That's fine. I could deal with Great Beyond. This is how far ahead I was. I kill Great Beyond as Vayne Kane. Go to the next turn. My opponent has top decked, so they drew a card for their Living Legends turn, and then they just drew another card, right? So they have 2 cards in hand. So they play Raven. That's pretty fucking good. But
What's
then I attack like
Raven.
I have this
the 5/5.
Raven, yeah. So they generate another spell, and then I have a spell that attacks into it, or I attack into it, or something like that, and I only get blown out by specifically Pale Cascade. My opponent had the Pale Cascade. They'd drawn at the Living Legends turn, and then they drew Raven. Pale Cascade Raven, get me. Now I have to make this attack because I'm losing if I don't. Because like if I just cede all pressure and my opponent's generating cards, I'm eventually gonna lose because my draws were like one drop, like it was bad. And then so they Pale Cascade Raven, blow me out. That's right. So many Raven cards are so bad, right? As long as they don't keep generating value, I'm going to win. And they generated the one drop that gives them a Daybreak and a Nightfall card to just keep it coming. And then I just lost, and I was like, I was furious.
Yeah.
I was tilted out of my mind. I haven't been that tilted in a very, very, very long time. And I remember because my brother messaged me afterwards. He was like, "Yo, dude,
Chill.
that was really rough." And I talked to him afterwards because people always message me and they're like, "You say you were so tilted, but like you didn't really seem that tilted. You seemed like mildly inconvenienced." And then when I watch it back, I'm like, "Oh my god." It's like I can't believe people like watch me throw this hissy fit. Cuz I basically sit there and my face looks like this. Brian, like this is a reenactment. I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, I'm so tilted. I'm so tilted right now. I'm so upset. You drew that? That? Dude, I'm upset." And like what that means is that I am unbelievably upset. Like that is me like I'm about to throw furniture. I would never do that, but like
Yeah,
on the inside,
because you're holding it all in, right? You're like keeping a
that's
straight
just how I
face.
am.
You're
Yeah,
like, fucking can't believe
yeah,
this shit. Unbelievable.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's I'm just not like a rager. So that happened, and I went to losers. So I then
Bracket.
needed to win bracket. Yeah. Also, I am a loser. I needed to win like 5 in a row instead of just 2, instead of like 1 more after that, or 2 more that it would have been. Had I won that match, I would have only had to win like 1 more, but instead I had to win 5 because I couldn't get the 4-0 anymore. And then I made it all the way to day 2, so I 5-1'd at the end of day 1. And then played into a really good matchup for my lineup, and just decks kind of took a dookie on me. It was just like the decks just didn't work.
You were in a mood, hey? Like right from the
Yeah.
start on day 2 for some
I was.
reason, you went from being like, we're gonna fucking do it, we're pulling it out, to like, I don't know, you were just like not happy to be there.
No, I was not. I got upset. I saw the writing on the wall really fast.
Like from the lineup that you were against or something, or what?
No, because it's actually a really good matchup for the lineup. Like Nora Vagar, we are ahead.
Supposed to be good,
on
yeah.
both. And then I can play a mirror match. Like I can play bar mirrors all fucking day. But I saw the writing on the wall from like turn 4 or something, where I was like, oh no, like just the draws didn't work. And then like I had one spot. There was like one real decision in the game that I think could have possibly swung it, and it wouldn't have once we like progressed the game further, but it could have. And it was where like I was running out of value, which was why I was like, oh, we're not going to win this. Is because I was lacking value. Like I just drew the not stuff that gets you more cards when all your cards in the deck gets you more cards. And so I was like, oh shit. And I had this Piltover and Tellstones, and I'm going to use it to get Progress Day. However, my opponent plays Bar. And so I can Aftershock my opponent's Bar and slow them down. I am up on tempo right now. I can Aftershock their Bar and slow them down while I have Bar to try to get tempo, but I need the cards. However, that turn, I top deck Pharaoh's Financier. So I can go Aftershock into Financier to find value or some bigger spell. And I choose to make the Aftershock line. And I think
why would you
that like
first?
I think I went Bar and my opponent went Bar, and then I Aftershocked their Bar or something. Something like that. Yeah. Or I didn't want to give them priority or something. There was a reason. But like I think I was supposed to Progress Day there. However, I felt like I saw the writing on the wall where I was like, I'm too far behind. Like this Progress Day is, I do not think, going to catch me up on value, unless my opponent's hand is horrible. But if I like keep up in tempo and then I hit like runner, like good hit off financier, runner, good draw, then I'm in this to win it. And then I played financier, hit poop, and then like drew poop and died to double big cat. um, just wasn't there. The win wasn't there. And then I played against Nora Vagar. A good matchup. I'm playing Vayne Kane. And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, they
It
just
just
went off.
doesn't happen. And my opponent just went off. Yeah, it was just like every turn they had the thing, and it just got to me. It got to me because like this, I don't know, like you said, I was off. Like I think I played, I'm not gonna say perfect because that's stupid, but like I played really well still. I think I did what I could. I think that one progress day spot is like the one spot where I was like, maybe that was like not great. Probably a couple others if I want to look back. I don't want to look back though. But I felt shit.
Yeah,
Like
you
I,
were out of sorts like early on. I
yeah,
watched the stream and I thought you would be like, let's fucking do this, let's go. But like you were saying, by turn 4, you're like, fucking fuck this, fuck that. You were like really like peeved. And then going into game 2, also it wasn't like you were able to kind of shake it off and just get
yeah,
back at it. You were kind of like, okay, as long
yeah.
as like I still want this to happen.
We
Like,
just gotta
oh,
squeeze
not
through. Yeah.
that. And like
Yep.
you're yeah, and it'd be interesting. So anyways, that thus ends. I won my first round. I lost my second round. I went to game 3. I probably should have won. And then I like played really poorly in my third round. But I didn't feel bad about it. If, and part of me felt like it's almost lethargic. I was like happy to like get it over with in some ways. I wasn't happy that I didn't do
Cathartic.
well. Cathartic. Yeah. Is that? Anyways, I was happy. I
Said
felt good.
lethargic. Yeah.
I felt like shit for the week leading
Yeah.
up to Worlds. Like I
You did.
literally
You did. Yeah.
was not happy at all. And I felt the same. I didn't even want to play. It was a rough format. Not being able to play on ladder, like ladder basically being a joke, and not
It was
being able
rough.
to put any good testing on a ladder really was, I found, rough. As much as I like to shit on a ladder, best the one ladder anyway. Not having it
I
all
love
was
practicing
like,
on ladder. Yeah.
yeah, not having it all was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
Mm.
Yeah.
The format
Anyways,
wasn't our format. I don't want to like make excuses. This is not
no,
why I didn't like qualify, but I think what killed me was it sucks to put in all that time and then like the format is not the dex format, the tournament format is like miserable. It's miserable. You either roll high and hit your 4-0 or you're probably fucked. And like last year I was able to not roll high and still get there. Uh through like a Herculean effort. And then like this year I almost did it again. But I think what really got to me was once I like hit day 2, like
which is a
it was
joke,
like,
by
oh
the way.
fuck.
Why
Yeah.
is there a day 2? For anyone who doesn't know, it's a
I don't know.
64
Yeah.
person double elimination tournament, and something like 8 people had to come back
Played
on
2
day
rounds
2
on day
to
2.
play like 1 or
Yeah.
2 rounds.
Yeah, I came back on day 2 to play 1 round. And yeah, it's just, like the night after you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I only have to win 2 more. Like it's a whole different thing when you're like, I have to win 5 in a row. Might as well just play good games, have fun with it. But like once you're 2 away or whatever, you're like, all right, serious time, serious up here. And then I remember going into the matchup and I was like, I feel like I have this. I was like, I feel really good about this. I feel like one of the
I,
only ways I lose this is by getting really unlucky.
yeah, when I saw the lineups, I thought this was going to be the one that you win for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd have to
Yeah.
get past
I was
one
worried
more.
about the next ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I did practice like against it, but yeah. So I think that's what tilted me so hard was I was like, please, your God, just don't screw me. Like, just give me games.
So it
And I felt
is.
like I didn't really get to play them.
Yeah, it's a card game, right?
It's a card game. You get card. I card game my opponents all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it happens to me too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have Worlds once a year, and it's like 64
Now nothing.
players, and it cuts down to 5 or 6. You get nothing till the
Yeah,
5 or
nothing.
6.
You get nothing. Yeah.
Which is just, I don't know, doesn't seem like a great way to do it. Feels like it could be done better. But one thing I do want to say is they ran the tournament well, at least this time. If anyone remembers last
Yes.
year, it was a total cluster, all kinds of screw ups and stuff. It was really well run this time around. So hats off. They did, and it was
Very smooth.
Battlefy runs it.
Yes. Battlefy.
Which is interesting. But yeah, I appreciate that there was no like super mess ups. They were on top of stuff, lots of warnings, making sure everyone was getting in. You couldn't see people's deck lists before the tournament started. The bracket wasn't put up before the tournament started. Everything was very smooth and well run. So that was nice. That's getting better. Yeah, only having one tournament to play in also kind of sucks. We're kind of running out of time, so I think we're going to leave talking about rotation until another time. We've got 2 months.
Yeah, we'll bring it up again.
Yeah, we'll dig more into it because it deserves its own thing. I'm really excited for it. For anyone that doesn't come from Magic, it's typically a good thing. And from the sounds of the way that they're going to balance things and pay attention to both, in Magic, having different formats is like one of the things that makes Magic awesome. And like, there's something for everyone. There's just what you like combo decks, you like control decks, you like grindy decks, you like fast decks, you like weak decks. There's like the different formats typically always have something for you. And a lot of these eternal formats, the ones that don't rotate, tend to be the fan favorites. They're the most fun. They're the ones people love. People have their decks for forever. They love them. So don't freak out too much about it. Wait till you actually get a chance to play it. And then speaking of more tournaments, we're trying to run more tournaments ourselves, because how cool would that be? I want there to be more tournaments, because that was one of the things I was thinking about.
Jesus Christ, we need more tournaments.
Going into this year, man, like thinking about like trying to win a seasonals, like the amount of work that you have to go, let alone like do well at Worlds, the amount of work that you have to put in is just not worth the potential payout.
No.
And that sucks.
No.
And so it's hard for me to justify playing a bunch of competitive OR. Because it's just not there. If I put in like whatever weeks of preparation and I'm like, one of the best in the world, and I go up into seasonals and I come in second, now you get like what, $2,500?
I think it's 35, but yeah. Even
30.
then, it's like that sounds like a lot of money. It does, but it's like
that's
it's
if
not. Like yeah,
if you came in second out of 1,000 people.
Out of 1,000 people,
which is extremely. That's like a good finish.
If you top 32, it's like $100.
No, it's like $250.
I don't think it is.
The top 32 is like $250, I think, or $150.
Oh, I thought it was $125.
It's okay. I don't know.
I
should know. I've done it
I
twice.
don't check.
I don't think
I keep top 32ing and I just don't even check. I'm just like,
paid
whatever,
for
man.
the last one. Anyways, yeah, and so if we had more tournaments at least, then you could put in a lot of time, and it's not just like one tournament done. And like
your prep work would like carry over.
Exactly.
And then it wouldn't feel bad. Like it felt miserable to get knocked out of Worlds because there's nothing coming. You have nothing else to do. Like if I get knocked out of Worlds, I just don't have any reason to play Runeterra.
It's the same.
So that's what happened.
Same at every seasonals too, right? Like
the
format changes immediately after. So what we want to do is we want to start having like our tournament series that we ran. We're gonna have qualifiers on the weekends, and then like the championship before seasonals. So then you get like 2 big tournaments before seasonals, or just a season, which would be pretty dope. Plus, I mean, they're talking about running a lot of their own tournaments and stuff now, which like fingers crossed, hopefully. Did you real quick as we're wrapping things up here? Did you play any of that Gauntlet stuff?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Apparently, it's like best.
I will probably do it for content.
Something.
Do not really care about it.
Yeah, I thought it was the old cards pre-nerf. I thought it was gonna be like that because Magic does that.
Yes. I was gonna say more interesting, but like I don't know. I mean, sure, it's like a shakeup, but I don't care. Like I can't play this format competitively. There's no tournament. Winning this gauntlet does nothing for me. Like the icon is negligible. It literally does not matter to me. There's no reason for me to do this.
Yeah. I was gonna play a couple out of like pure just like I'll take a look.
Yeah.
If it was old cards, I was down. If it was the old cards, I would be like pre-nerf because I don't even know. I have no idea what those cards are. For me, that's like a new set practically. All this craziness.
It's a big balance patch for you, yeah.
Yeah. But then it turns out, nope, it's just the same cards. And also it's like pick 3 best of 1 or play 1 something. Yeah. Like mess that up. Oops.
They said they were going to change it to best of 3 later.
That was just an accident, I'm pretty sure, right? That was just like a bug or something. Like they meant for it to be best of 3. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. 2023 can't come soon enough. We got rotation. Also for anyone
I'm
that
excited to watch Worlds though. We got to root for our boy.
that's right.
Gotta
Yeah.
root for What Am I?
So What Am I is in Worlds that starts next week. I think on like the 7th, like on the Wednesday or the Thursday or something. That'll be
Does
pretty
this,
cool.
if he puts up a solid finish in Worlds, does this make him um this has to make him like at least contender for like greatest competitive player of all time, right? Like
Yeah, well, he's got the most top cuts by
most
absolutely
top
anyone.
cuts.
So like if you put like one seasonal win onto that
If he had a
resume,
seasonal win, people would be saying that.
he would
Yeah,
just be number one.
he'd just be number one.
And he's like this is another thing. He's like one of the only there's like two him and Badge I think are the only people to qualify for both top 16s
Yeah,
in Worlds.
Badge Attack's also like a top 5 in the running, absolutely, like for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean if he wins, for sure. I think he
Yes,
just goes to number one.
if either of them win, that's a pretty good case for being the best. Like I understand that winning does not exactly mean that you're actually the best player, but it looks really good on your resume.
Yeah, and when you combine it with consistency at a level like he's like the most consistent player by far, then so Worlds is next week. Everyone tune into that. It was absolutely phenomenal last year. The viewing experience
2
was
weeks,
so good. It's next week.
10th.
Today's the 28th. Monday's the
Today's
like
Monday.
so yeah, so it starts
It's like a week and a
though.
half.
Week and a half. Because it starts
Oh,
on,
it does?
I think it starts on Thursday.
I thought it started on like Friday.
I mean, I don't know. I
Oh well,
assume
that doesn't matter. Whatever. A week. We get it.
Anyways,
Yep.
next
A week and a
next
half.
week,
10 days.
not this week. Yeah, so that'd be cool. And then also the new this is what I'm thinking. The new season. Oh no, starts after that. Wait, what? The new cards come out on yeah. Okay, this is what I'm thinking of. The new cards come out on the 7th.
Yes, I just found that out today actually.
Yeah, and so the new season to qualify for seasonals also starts on the 7th, which is next week, 9 days from right now, maybe 8 by the time you see this. So that's exciting. And then so yeah, on the 7th, new cards, new patch, new set, new everything. And then whatever it is, the 8th or the 9th World starts. And it'll be Worlds with the new cards that they've been using for probably a week before that, which is pretty cool. Pretty exciting. It'll be fun to see what people cook up. Okay. All right. I think that's it. That's all we got. So we'll say goodbye. Anything else? Any finishing words, thoughts, prayers? I'm so excited for a new season. 1 week.
Yeah,
1 week
Jesus
away from
Christ,
a new
give me a
season.
tournament to play.
That'd be nice.
Any game. I'll take a tournament for any game.
That'd be nice.
I'll go play Scrabble. I don't care. I just need tournaments.
Majin and I recently played the Arena Open, the one that we were talking about. Yeah, Majin made it too. And then speaking of which, that one, the next one that's coming up for Cube is like December 17th or something. Like it's super soon, 10/17. So yeah, competitive things, awesome. All right, we're out of here. I'm just rambling at this point. See you guys next week. Okay, peace.